Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about the Novritsch SSP5 and go quite deep into how it was developed and its performance, design as its designer, creator. I designed the upper portion of it. The stock only had minor changes to improve it based from the SSP1. So this project actually started in my mind way before I started working here. So I had a stock TM back at home. It doesn't look like this, but the idea was pretty much the same. TM plastic slide is cheap, they are light, and they're far more durable than the 3D printed slides you see on the internet. So back then I wanted a performance, so I kept the slide, installed a gather lightweight blowback housing, 3D printed a TDC outer barrel with a compensator and a longer guide rod, which fixed the outer barrel with the guide rod to give it additional stability. And that ended up being a very snappy and powerful pistol. I went from 0.9 joules to 1.4 joules with a slide that is very, very light. So then I started working here, and the only thing I had available was the SSP1. So I started upgrading it, put in this gather lightweight blowback housing again, non-drop barrel, aluminum plug, did all I could to it, but it's still considerably more hard-kicking and not as responsive as the original TM I had. Even though the stock TM I didn't really upgrade the trigger or anything, after a while it started to fail around the sears and whatnot. So I started to cut the frame of the SSP1, try to match the weight of the TM plastic. And that's where that weird looking thing with a half 3D print and a cut split SSP1 slide thing you saw on the official video from Novritsch. That's where it sort of caught the attention of the company, and they allowed me to continue doing it. So I improved a little bit things. The one with gray 3D printed, it still used a stock pop-up chamber, and it just had the additional screw pushing the plate. And I found out this chamber breaks a lot. Of course, not on the lightweight one, but it is a weak point, and the plate itself with just a screw pushing it is still not as consistent, and it occupies quite a bit of space, meaning if you have an outer barrel and it's separated from the chamber, you have very little meat for the set screw to go. Your range of adjustment is limited. That's where the 3D print version, the one you saw that is orange, came to be. That one already have a one-piece hole-pop chamber like this one, and you have a lot more space since you don't have the additional chamber apart from the outer barrel. And that's where we decided to make it manufacturable and cheap. The orange one, even it could have been produced, but it would be very expensive to CNC the whole upper from a block. So I designed the SP5 using extrusion. Extrusion is a method that I like more and more to use because it reduces drastically the production cost, as you are extruding the aluminum in its plastic state to pretty much the final profile, and all you have to do is some simple and quick cut. It also gives very good mechanical properties as you are squeezing the material together, kind of like forging it instead of machined from billet. As you tighten compacting the crystalline structure. That's where this pistol ended to be, and this the extrusion allowed this to be truly CNC finished. Despite you don't really drill the holes are still processed to have the tolerance, and all the additional cuts, they are indeed CNC, so it is a CNC slide without paying too much for it. The lower of the SSP5 is pretty much identical to the SSP1, except you have the 5 mounting holes, and the hammer post is actually a steel bar screwed to the frame instead of being part of the frame, which would make it zinc alloy or Zamac. So all the parts that interact with each other, they are steel, making it, I would say, one of the most durable lowers frames on the market, with the only other competitor being the ICS Challenger, which also have full steel internals. That being putting that aside, let's move to the slide weight and why it matters. So this is the SSP5 slide. We have here a full airsoft masterpiece slide, except the nozzle is an AIP nozzle. The blowback housing and the slide both being an airsoft masterpiece, so aluminum plug, slide. We do have a front side, I think it's a steel front side. We will weigh these, but I will discount a little bit on this since it does have a front side. And we will also check this fully upgraded TM slide. This is not a stock TM slide assembly. The stock TM assembly is nowhere near light because of the zinc blowback housing. So also aluminum plug, and we have here stock TM. One of the reasons that back then I wanted is because it just makes your pistol so much snappier, and it's a lot easier to keep your sight on target. Now keep that in mind, why this one would be the lightest. Now some people who know the split slide, most people know it from Armor Works or the WE, but the original one was from Gunsmith Bro, which was machined from 6061 aluminum, which is the same material as this. This is extruded. That one would be machined from billet. And the Gunsmith Bro, if I remember correctly, without anything installed, just a plug, no blowback unit, no nozzle, no wear sight, was I think 66 grams. We have here a scale. Okay. Start with the fully upgraded TM. Okay, this is edge blowback unit with the edge nozzle. Charging handle, I don't remember. I think it's the same as these with aluminum plug. The edge blowback unit, I think, is one of the lightest, if not the lightest, blowback unit on the market. Okay, so 64.38. Okay, 64.4. Let's say that. And then this, I believe, is one of the lightest metal slides you have on the market. I mean, if you compare it to a split slide, pretty much the only difference is you have this tiny front section for the front side. The Poison slide do advertise as the lightest on the market with I think also 66 or 63 grams, somewhere around there. But I think it's similar. And we have 88.5. Even if the Poison slide, let's say 60 grams, you still have at least, I don't know, 18 grams of the blowback unit plus other stuff. So it's no way gonna be in the 60s. And this is the SSP5 one. 65.23. So this is 1 gram, less than 1 gram heavier than the TM plastic, and this is extruded aluminum. So durability wise, I mean, with this low recoil power, I wouldn't say this thing won't last. It will last a really long bit. But stock TM slides, they do break. Everybody knows that. That's why people like upgrade it first. But with the lightweight blowback housing, it drastically improves it. But still, this, well, is kind of like just forged aluminum. It is extruded, but as I said, you squeeze the material together to form this. And all these parts are cut, they are reused. That's why, like, even with slim parts like this, there's no issue with it. And now it comes to the compatibility. People look at this and say, okay, this is so proprietary. Actually, it's not that bad. For me, I kept what I consider important, still aftermarket compatible. And for me, that is the nozzle and the piston. The blowback housing, everybody just, you only need the lightest one, really. It's not too much to choose from. You get whatever is available and the light one. So this is designed in a way to really optimize that. So every aftermarket one is still the TM design. And TM is made for TM. It makes sense just for the plastic slide. It doesn't really make sense when you have metal construction. Like, you have a metal slide. The blowback housing, why do you still make it so complicated with the tab, with the tiny cuts? It doesn't make sense at all. It makes sense for TM. This is casted. There's no machining involved. If you want to remove the stock TM blowback housing or put a new one in, you actually have to pry it open because these tabs, they're locked into the plastic one. It makes whole sense for this, but copying this is kind of stupid. Like for TM, you need a metal blowback housing because everything that interacts with the sears of your lower is convenient to be metal, right? For it to last longer. But when you have a metal slide, what's the point of making two pieces apart from making it more complex? That's why the SP5 have the tabs machined onto the slide itself. So there's no such thing as I know people heard the polymer blowback unit durability. No, everything that interacts with metal, it's metal. Same as this, the back piece that cocks the hammer is aluminum. Nozzle is regular Hicapa nozzle. Only this part is polymer, which has only advantages. It's lightweight, and polymer to polymer, the friction is a lot lower than having aluminum with another polymer part. And this actually it has built-in short stroke because this pulling distance is shorter than regular TM, but the nozzle is still standard. This one here, I'm using the Edge short stroke nozzle. You can see the pulling distance also quite short. And from here to here, you have about a centimeter and something. This one is slightly larger. The Edge, in my opinion, is a bit too much because this gun, despite the slide being so light, I do have the very sensitive to the gas. It's more like only HPA. And it has a shortened gas sear, the striker sear cutout, so the gas is cut out sooner than regular one. You can compare. This cut here is a lot bigger. And this reduces gas consumption. Since you don't have that heavy of a slide, you don't need it to be open, like the valve to be open that long. The same with SP5. It's also tuned shorter, but it's shorter than the regular. But it is slightly longer than the Edge by about 5 millimeters. Because I need a compromise between gas efficiency, performance, and reliability. Because you as a tuner, you would know some stuff, but this, a lot of new people beginners, they would use it. So now the piston is also held by a screw, like a lot of these designs. In the back, the piston is 2 pieces. Same as this, it's 2 pieces. So you can still tune the piston. You can change the sear type, you can change the piston length, and of course you can trim out this thing to make it lighter. This is just a simple cylinder. You could still cut this. And by cutting this, you probably remove the additional gram that makes this thing weight more than that. So you can change your nozzle, standard TM, standard piston, standard nozzle recoil spring. And one thing I don't like about this is, you see this spring just pops off. And to install this from the bottom without really seeing the spring, it's quite tricky. And TM even worse, because you have this expanding slide, you have to kind of pop it into it. And this one you don't. Just put it here, hold it, slide it in, you're done. So if you, people bitch about this being proprietary. I call it progress. This design haven't changed for what, almost 20 years, and everybody just keep copying it without changing anything. It's not optimal. Now, yes, the TM, one of the reason people build it is also for it to look good. But SSP5, the way it's designed, it's a lot easier to make it look different. Since the whole front barrel, this is the whole pipe unit. Okay, let me just put this one in. I was just showing the whole pipe unit. This is a one-piece whole pipe chamber. This is beefy. This is solid. This will never break in 2 pieces. Like, I know people break this a lot. I need a TDC with a concave nut, like this. And if I have, so how this looks, it still takes a standard GBB barrel, VSR cut. Takes a regular GBB bucking. This thing just looks kind of weird because it's inside this shroud, which usually goes into the whole pipe chamber. So to have air seal and make it easy to install, on my first prototype, I had to squeeze the bucking with the barrel into this unit. It's not very easy. So I made it 2 pieces. You have this shroud that goes around the bucking to keep it squeezed. Then you pop in the inner barrel. Then you slide the whole unit into this easy, because the friction between this plastic and the chamber is a lot less. Now you have a concave nut. One reason it can shoot heavy BBs, and if you take the concave side, you press it down, you can see it's quite a flat nut. It's a decent contact area. If you want to shoot lighter weight BBs, you flip to the flat side, and if you push, you can see it's more rounded, so the contact area is reduced. So you need to press a little bit harder to get the same hop, which in return give you better retention on the BB, so it doesn't just roll out of the barrel. Okay, put this aside. So is this proprietary? Yes, but it's more durable, it's more accurate. I don't see, people are already using non-drop barrel anyways, and this also gave you that possibility to mount the red dot really low. Now, when it comes to customizing it, if it was another company try to do something like the SSP5, I know G&G have a couple Hicapas that looks in different color and stuff. If you don't supply aftermarket parts to customize it, yeah, I can imagine it's kind of difficult to achieve as big of a market impact as it. For example, for me, this looks kind of boring. Then again, I have been using this for the past 2 years, really. This thing was, if not because of COVID, it probably would have launched a year earlier. I've been playing with this for a very long time. But the thing is, Novritsch is capable of launching everything you want on it. For example, in the launch, they say there will be aftermarket slides. This is one of the samples, not final, but just showing. This is a 5.1 variant. Shorter barrel, you would have different colors. You would have different cuts. And since it's a fixed front barrel, can do a lot more work on the front. And here I have a co-workers that he just chopped the front end off and threaded the outer barrel. And you still have all the advantages. It's still fixed outer barrel. It's still really sturdy. Still have the red dot, everything. It's very hard for you to achieve. Actually, it's right now I think impossible to achieve this with aftermarket on TM. And this is my own that I have been using and tuning for quite a while. I milled off the front portion. This is actually a standard 5.1 Hicapa guide rod, just to show like a lot of things are cross compatible. I have the charging handle instead of the front side, and you can see the front side is designed in a way that once removed, it's not like you feel like it's missing something. It's made in a way that once you remove it, it still looks good. And this cut, this V-shaped cut on the front, helps you, even if you don't have an iron sight. Once you line up this cut, you will find your red dot. It's super easy. And on TM, the other side, if you don't install anything, you will see this notch. Now, can this thing be upgraded? Of course. I mean, marketing side, everything is always marketed as perfect, which is one of the downside. For example, one thing I would work on, and one thing I really think Hicapa stand out compared to everything else, because I know people are gonna compare this to AP01 and say it's a lot better bang for the buck. For me, it's just really different. Like, Glock have been there for a very long time, and you could always have upgraded the Glock as well, but it's not often as used because the trigger pull on the Glock, no matter how good, it's kind of sluggish. You can't get it as light, as responsive as Hicapa. And this one here, you still have this, like, all this is still TM compatible. You can change the hammer spring, you can change the leaf spring, which is one of the upgrades I often do. I just tune the leaf spring, bend it in different ways to get it lighter and more responsive. I think the stock TM is between 1.2 to 1.5 pounds of trigger pull. I think the SSP5 is about 2 pounds. It's a little bit on the heavy side, but it's definitely not as bad as the Glock or the AP01. And you can customize it. You can sweep out the triggers, mag release, grips. The the grip, I think, with TM grips, you need to grind a little bit. The TM have the KJ have 2 tabs on the side, but apart from that, it's very little work. And I have done it several times. Like, just this is a cowl grip, and I just modified it very slightly. I think in the back here I grinded a little bit. That's it. So as the designer, this have a lot of features actually. If you look past by the hatred you see on the internet against Novritsch, this is absolutely designed to perform. It's, if you want to build your own, yeah, TM you still right now have a little bit more choice, but it's not like this is a no-go. You can absolutely build something with this, and it will outperform a lot of things. When we were shooting this at the range, For the power, it has you compete with anything that can shoot in the same power range. In the end, if you look at this hop-up chamber, very few platforms have this sturdy of a hop-up chamber with a TDC like this. This is like sniper rifle level. I think like even VSRs, maybe some chamber have this nice of a nub with a TDC. And on the SP5, the auto barrel is absolutely fixed on this thing. Pull this back, this is not gonna move. Okay, so I hope this review give you a more in-depth view on the SP5, and thank you for watching.